Hello, everybody. Welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs and baseball podcast hosted by two comedians who live in New York but love the Cubs. One of them is in Chicago right now. That's not me. I'm Adam Mamawala. I'm back in Astoria, New York, home of Tommy Hotovy, I think.
Close.
No, Iapoce, who just got canned.
R.I.P.
Wow. Perfect. Yeah. How did I mess that up?
Hey.
That other voice is Kevin. You know that voice. That's Kevin McCaffrey. He lives in New York, but he's in Chicago right now.
I am in Chicago. I'm doing a bunch of Chicago stand-up shows. So if you listen to this, I bet there are still tickets available for Kevin McCaffrey headlining Zanies in Rosemont, October 7th through the 9th. I'll be doing 5 shows, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Thursday. If you want to come on out, and you might even be able to see a Ken Schultz on the Friday show. So holler at us.
Oh, we're talking about a little guest Schultz, a little feature Schultz.
Might be able to swing a guest Ken Schultz appearance if you want to come through Friday and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If you listen to this and you've wanted to see some of us do our day job thing, then
if you want to see Ken do, I assume, a tight 5 on Jed Hoyer. That is the show.
He's just gonna be. It'll be 5 minutes more performance arty, where he's just gonna say "Fire Jed, sell the team" over and over. Which, I mean, who can argue? Should be a crowd pleaser. But yes, if you're thinking about it, feel free to holler at me. If you want to message, I'm at Kevin McCaff on Twitter, on Instagram. If you want to holler at me and have any questions or want to come see the show, let me know. But yeah, that's not why you called or downloaded this podcast. You did that because we're Away Games at Away Games Pod on all the socials. And we are here, Adam. What are we doing today? We're talking about some playoffs?
Yeah, today we're not a game. Not a game. Practice. I'm all over the place today.
Yeah.
I just started watching Ted Lasso, and there was the scene where he does the entire practice speech just in the context of a speech to a player, and it was very funny to me.
Yes, classic. That is I have seen it. That's a classic, an all-time sports rant. And then the playoffs was, of course, Jim Mora, who is famous for 2 of the all-time greatest sports rants. One is the playoffs one, which is more famous, but the one I actually prefer is where he just keeps saying, "We suck. We sucked. We couldn't do diddly poo on offense." He says
diddly poo is unbelievable.
So good.
I mean, if that's not on whatever the football version of Obvious Shirts is, it's a real missed opportunity.
Yes, but playoff, man, the aforementioned Mora clip, that's what the Cubs were this year. Playoffs, I'm just trying to win a game, is what he was yelling. And there are teams actually in the playoffs, and it should be some exciting baseball.
It should be very exciting baseball. I'm kind of bummed. We're recording this on Tuesday, October 5th. I'm very bummed that we didn't have some sort of extra game yesterday, because it seemed like there was a very high chance of that, and of course it did not happen, which we will discuss. But basically what we are doing today is we are doing a full-on MLB playoff preview, and then next week we are going to give you what you've all been waiting for, a Cubs season in review, because what a season it was.
It's going to be a 3-minute episode. It's going to whip ass. It's going to be great. But as far as but today we're talking
Fire Jed, sell the team. Thanks for listening. Follow us at Away Games Pod.
Thanks for listening. Yes, exactly. So, but for playoffs wise, I was also rooting for the chaos. I think we all were rooting for some sort of. We would have needed the Yankees and or Red Sox to lose, and then the Blue Jays and Mariners to win. And the Blue Jays did win. The Mariners did not. But the Red Sox.
Right.
A frustrating comeback to put them in the clear for wild card.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Mariners, they had a great stretch run, but you can't drop 2 of 3 to the Angels. You can't do that when you need to be winning games. Because had they won those 2 games and swept that series, then they would have been tied with the Yankees and Red Sox. If you're a Blue Jays fan, that's got to be super frustrating, because granted, they did lose 2 of 3 to the Yankees in the final week, so that's not what you wanted. But, I mean, they did their job against the Orioles, which not everyone had been doing. And then to have a situation where you already know that you're going to win, or I think maybe they had even won by that point on Sunday. The Yankees are tied. The Rays have a great opportunity to score with a runner on third and 1 out. They don't do so. The Red Sox go down 5-1 on our boy Alex Avila's final plate appearance, probably as a major leaguer. So then to see the Red Sox come back, I imagine was very frustrating. And man, I don't know if Red Sox fans like traveled to DC, but did you see any of the highlights from that game? There, it was like 30,000 Red Sox fans.
Yeah, the Red Sox fans do travel very well, especially down the East Coast. Like if you see games in Tampa, it's all Red Sox fans. In Washington, they had a huge presence there, and the game actually mattered for them, so that does make sense. But yeah, it was a very strong showing by Red Sox fans at that game.
If I could have told you 1 year ago right now that on the final day of the 2021 regular season, Kyle Schwarber would be playing at Nationals Park, his former home, wearing a Red Sox jersey, how would your brain have processed that information?
It would have been chaotic, and especially if you told me that he was trying to win the game so that his Red Sox could play Anthony Rizzo's Yankees in a wild card game. The main thing that would have changed there is, I guess, my season wins prediction for the Cubs would have been a lot more accurate. If you had told me all that happened, I would have been a lot closer to our final total than I was. I predicted 81. That's a peek into the Cubs season review, but I would have gone under if
arguably the most frustrating outcome, possibly even more frustrating than what the real outcome would have been 81 and 81.
I think so. Yeah.
Because if you're a Phillies fan right now and they finish 83 and 79 and miss the playoffs, like that's such a bummer of a season.
Yeah. Weirdly, the Phillies had not had a winning season in a long time. It had been more years than you think. So there's maybe just a tiny bit of that. Like, well, at least we were a winning team this year, and they have the guy who probably should be MVP and Bryce Harper over there, and. So I guess this is unlike many recent Phillies seasons. There was some good stuff to it, but yeah, it's that sort of place to live as a team at the 81 win mark is the most frustrating. So I guess I'm glad we didn't do that as Cubs, but we got a lot of former Cubs running around in these playoffs now, and we have the first of the playoff games is this wild card game that ESPN and MLB Network are loving because it's Yankees Red Sox.
Mm-hmm. It is going to be at least 5 hours long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I'm fully expecting to be up till 2 a.m. tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of, I was just thinking of like what those old school Yankees Red Sox games in the aughts that would always take that long, and and just super tight strike zones. And then that reminds me of, this is just bad trivia that sucks, but if you don't know, your boy retiring Joe West is going to be working the plate in the National League wild card game between the Dodgers and the Cardinals. So he's going to ruin something on his way out.
Joe West, to borrow your term, is going to biff the Cardinals into the second round somehow.
He's going to biff St. Louis straight into a run to another mediocre World Series championship. Absolutely. I would not be at all surprised. But yeah, we've got
were you watching on Sunday? I know obviously we had the opportunity to watch the Bears win a football game. That was pretty nice. But were you watching the baseball as it kind of wound down towards like late afternoon on Sunday?
I was, yes. I was.
Were you watching the Yankees?
I was watching mainly the MLB Network bounce around coverage, sort of the MLB. I figured it would be the MLB version of Red Zone, where they would just be hopping around game to game, split screening. And they were, but they're so bad at it. They're so bad at that kind of coverage. Also, the percentage of the hour that's like the most important hour of the regular season baseball season was like, 30% commercials minimum, maybe something like it was insane. And on regular week wrestling shows on like AEW Dynamite, they will go picture in picture during commercials, and it's not to get into the playoffs. MLB Network, fucking figure it out. Like it was terrible coverage down the stretch on what was an extremely exciting day. It was just like incompetent broadcasting, and
it's also frustrating that's like not in any way surprising to hear.
No, it's not. And we had to listen to Harold Reynolds talk, and Harold Reynolds and Mr. Russo over on the MLB Network are two standout guys who flummox me in that their whole life is baseball. Their whole life for all the years, baseball, and they have no clue what the fuck they're ever talking about. I don't know how it's possible to be this detached and idiotic when talking about a sport, just like completely uninformed when that's all you do. Like they don't have other interests. So having to listen to Harold Reynolds talk is a bummer
and here's a hot take for you. I think Mark DeRosa sucks butt as an analyst.
Get into it. I don't even. I'm not a huge DeRosa analyst fan. I like as an analyst in a game or just like in the studio whenever.
In the studio, I feel like he does not have much interesting to say. I am not a Mark as it pertains.
I'm not a Mark
DeRosa.
either. I'm not. I don't like dislike Mark DeRosa, but his name was floated a lot when like when the Cubs had a managerial opening, and there's been a lot of talk about like him getting involved in a front office or in a high level coaching position with a major league team, and I straight up don't see where that's coming from. I guess you know
I feel about him the way I feel about so many comics that like have everything handed to them, and I'm like, it's not that they're bad, I just don't think that they warrant the kind of attention that they have.
Yeah, I think DeRosa's that. Maybe it's just he's a friendly guy a lot of people like, and he's photogenic, I guess. So I don't know, but I'm pretty much with you on that. But besides the broadcasting part of it, it was an exciting day, and now we have 4 wild card teams that I kind of all want to lose, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, and I don't know if you picked up on this little nugget during the Yankees game, but as the 9th inning unfolded, can you think of any other time where Anthony Rizzo was due up 3rd in an inning and the first person got on base and then tagged up and ran to second on a deep fly ball?
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah.
Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, it was. And then I was like, I know Rizzo's had a rough year, but I'm telling you, this is going to happen right now. And I was very frustrated when they held the runner at third. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was the right call. But I mean, he hit the shit out of the ball, so there wasn't really much time. And I think whoever that pinch runner, I forget his name.
It's Tyler Wade, who can fly.
Yeah, he had to. I think he had to hold because he didn't know if that would get through initially. So, but I mean, still, Rizzo sets up that inning.
Absolutely. And Rizzo got to second base on the throw home. And if he hadn't, then the next play, Aaron Judge would have possibly grounded into an inning-ending double play. So that's just, that's a smart baseball player getting to second on a hard-hit single to right when the guy, I know he's fast as fuck, but he, a guy who does not have elite sprint times, just smartly got to second in a way that absolutely ended up mattering. So good for him. And I guess I think I am rooting for the Yankees here. I know you are not a Yankees guy, so I assume you're Red Sox in this matchup.
Yeah, I really don't like either team. I really would have preferred to have had like either the Blue Jays or Mariners playing the Yankees or Red Sox, because I genuinely don't like either team, and I feel like some people probably say this about the Cubs, but like Red Sox fans have become pretty insufferable to the point where it's like you have become what you always hated. Like they
got there real fast.
Yeah, you're equally as annoying as Yankees fans. I think my move is like, I guess I'd rather see the Red Sox win. I would very much like to see Rizzo and Schwarber have good games. And yeah, I also just like want to see a good game. Like I'm excited as a baseball fan, as much as the whole like Red Sox Yankees thing is a little overblown and also not what it used to be now that they're both good most of the time. But yeah, what makes you root for the Yankees over the Red Sox? Just not having a deep-seated hatred for them like I do?
It's a much better city, New York over Boston. So which only comes into play when I'm rooting for baseball when we get down the list a little bit. But as a tiebreaker, obviously we both live in New York. New York's great. My experience with Boston has been mostly like Boston. This is like if New York sucked a little bit. Like it's sort of it's like crowded and inconvenient in the ways that New York is, but without a lot of the New York part of it.
Less diversity, more racism.
Yeah, that there's definitely that. But yeah, so I guess there's that. And I for sure rooted for the Red Sox, when they to win the championship in the aughts. They were a lot of fun, a lot of fun teams. But yeah, I think that. And then Rizzo's my favorite Cub of all time. So I love Schwarber too, but I would default to rooting for Anthony Rizzo in a 1-1 matchup here. And I think that's probably where I'm going with that. And I just think the Yankees are a better team overall.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's probably true. Well, here's a question though. Who do you think, and maybe that's your answer, who do you think has a better matchup versus the Rays?
I think. I mean, I think I'd have to say Yankees. I just think it's a deeper, it's a deeper team. That lineup, if it gets hot, there's not a lot you can do about it. The lineup has struggled for long stretches of this year, but I think it's just a much more difficult lineup, 1 to 9 all the way through if they're healthy and clicking. They've got Garrett Cole up top, obviously. So if you can throw Garrett Cole maybe 3 times in a 7-game series,
right.
That can help you out. And I guess I guess we can go through the AL first.
I mean, obviously, I'm talking about because whoever wins this plays the Rays, and then they don't get their ace. So like Garrett Cole or Eovaldi is only going to go once in that series. So like as a whole, who do you think has a better shot against the Rays?
I still think it's the Yankees because Nathan Eovaldi has had a really good year. And
he's been great.
It's been cool to see a guy with that kind of pure stuff get a chance to make 32 starts and stay healthy all through the year. But the Red Sox rotation, they've had a good year from like Garrett Richards, and Eduardo Rodriguez is good. A guy whose like peripherals kind of look better than I think his traditional stats maybe.
Right.
But yeah, and JD Martinez, who I don't know where he was. JD Martinez
he bodied himself out of the wild card game.
He bodied himself out of the wild card game. He's a guy who has actually he's gone on record saying like, I should be able to play the field. And he tripped over a base walking to the field.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, running out for the 5th inning, he I don't know, maybe he was like looking back at the dugout or something and twisted his ankle running over a base. I assume running over second base or something.
What a rough week JD Martinez has had too, because Facebook shut down. I don't know where he got his own research for that day too. And his pro gun memes probably were harder to find for JD Martinez that day. JD Martinez is a piece of shit. If you don't know, he's a moron. So I think it's also like, I think he's good for me to root.
When they do. You remember like high school, like senior superlatives? Like he is like active baseball player, like most likely to be Aubrey Huff in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good call. So but I think with him out of the lineup too, it's just I think the Yankees are it's just a better team overall.
Although I assume you saw this, but the Yankees are without LeMahieu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a sports hernia, and that's taking him out as well. And
you know what? I feel like that's inspiring me to just any sort of injury I have, I'm just going to put the word sports in front of it, and it's going to sound less ridiculous.
It definitely sounds. Yeah, it sounds cooler for sure.
I have sports gonorrhea.
Yeah. AKA the Mark Grace disease, I assume.
Exactly. The old what's it called? Streak buster, whatever.
Slump buster. Yeah.
Slump buster. There it is. Yeah.
Yes. That's our AL wildcard game, I think. And then the winner there is going to play Tampa, which Tampa, I guess by right, they're the number 1 seed in the American League, and Brandon Lau hit 39 homers this year. That snuck up on me from that team.
Yeah. There were so many people in this last week of watching games, especially since like I think you and I probably don't watch as much AL baseball, where I'm like looking at guys' stat lines. I'm like, I'm sorry, Kyle Seager hit like 30 and 100. Like there were all these things that popped up where I was like, I feel like I didn't have any idea how good of a season this person was having.
Yeah. Definitely, and Seager was one of those guys as well. But yeah, Lau hit 3 homers in a game in the last week, and it was against the Yankees actually, and he had a real hell of a year. Wander Franco, Tampa has at shortstop, who got 300 plate appearances this year, but you could make an argument for American League Rookie of the Year there. It's just basically Tampa's a lot like San Francisco, where it's not even that there's so many dominant guys in the lineup, but there's just no breaks in the lineup. And they do a lot of platooning. Randy Arozarena is also actually, he had the huge playoffs last year, but he's rookie eligible, so actually he might win Rookie of the Year as well. But Arozarena's had a really good year.
I was looking at my preseason predictions, and there was a lot wrong, but I predicted Randy Arozarena and Sixto Sanchez as my rookie of the years.
Not bad. That's a pretty solid guess. And Austin Meadows put 100 RBIs on the board for this team. Mike Zunino,
Jeez.
33 homers and elite framing from Mike Zunino. 33 bombs, a straight up 301 on base from Zunino. He is bombing, or that's it.
Who hit that home run last year to win the series for the Rays against the Yankees?
Mike Brosseau.
Is that? Yeah, I think that's right.
I think so, because that's the guy that Aroldis threw at, right? And then he got smoked. So Aroldis, well, we're talking about JD Martinez being a piece of shit. Obviously, Aroldis, Domingo Germán, the Yankees have their own pieces of shit to deal with, too.
Yeah, it's nice when they can both start and end a game with the domestic abuser.
Just like garbage people, yeah. I think the Yankees and Rays also hate each other the most, so that makes for a fun series.
Yeah. So should we stay in the AL? Do you want to talk about White Sox Astros?
Yes. What are your thoughts on this series? What are you feeling? What are you rooting for? What are you looking for?
Man, it's really tough because I don't have any like deep-seated dislike for the White Sox. I have an immense amount of dislike for Tony La Russa.
Yes.
And then conversely, I don't think I'm ever going to like the Astros until there are no players from that team on them anymore. I don't dislike Dusty Baker. I like him as a human. I don't think that he's a great manager. I think we talk about biffing things. I mean, both with the Cubs and the last game of his Nationals managerial tenure that I attended, where he just was all over the place. Not to mention that game the previous year where they lost to the Dodgers in 5, and he was just awful in that game managing. But in any case, long way of saying I would prefer for the White Sox to win, but I also feel like their White Sox Twitter has become unbearable, and I am very much afraid that we're going to get like a weird White Sox Brewers World Series where it's just the most annoying people we could possibly deal with.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And Astros Twitter is arguably the worst in baseball too.
Oh my God.
It's truly,
it's kind of ironic that they're all trash people.
Yeah, it's amazing. Astros is probably the worst social media presence in the game, and it's been this way for years, like even before the cheating. It's bizarre how garbage they are. And I think you're totally right, because I also don't have I don't root against the White Sox, generally speaking. Like, I kind of just don't care. And I think that's how more Cubs fans feel about the White Sox than vice versa. Obviously, they are obsessed. If you want to read about Cubs baseball, just follow White Sox Twitter, because they can't shut up about it. Like, they're just obsessed with the Cubs at all.
And not even current Cubs.
No, they're talking shit about Javi Baez. Wake up. Where are you? So yeah, I want those people to be sad, but I want
they're posting videos of third baseman making plays and being like, Ron Santo could never.
Yeah, and it's always like exactly this copy paste, like memified fill-in phrase that they're taking like exactly like that. No originality coming from that from White Sox Twitter. So yeah, I want those fans, the ones active on social media, to be sad for sure. But as far as the players go, absolutely, the White Sox players are so much more fun than the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, like I think Tim Anderson for me is up there amongst my favorite non-Cubs in baseball.
He's great. He's always been good, but that's a guy who's exceeded my expectations, where it's like he is consistently better than I realized, and he is fun, and he's just one of those dudes who you want to see go nuts in the playoffs, because he plays with a ton of emotion anyway, and it's going to be amped up, and he's not afraid of anybody.
And then you get to see him celebrate a home run and have Tony La Russa bench him.
Yeah, for celebrating an ALCS walk-off too hard. He'll have to pinch it in the third to teach him a lesson. Yeah, so I think this is a weird one. And Dusty Baker, I will say, I think is a good regular season manager, but that is not what matters right now. Dusty Baker is a guy, the players love him, they respect him. I think he knows how to manage people well, which is probably the most important thing as a baseball manager for 162. But when you get to the playoffs, it's about those those big decisions, those small moves that end up being big decisions. Right. And unfortunately, I think history shows you that you trust Tony La Russa more than Dusty Baker there. Ugh. But like,
yeah, the big knock on Dusty Baker, certainly from Cubs fans, if not from everyone, is that he is not good at managing pitching. And that is so much of what the playoffs are, especially now.
It is. Yes, very much so. So I like the White Sox in this series. I expect them to win. But I think they have a lot of arms they can run out there. We know about the Kimbrel Hendricks 8th, 9th combo. Ryan Tepera, your boy, is out there.
But Kimbrel hasn't been particularly good for them.
No, Kimbrel hasn't been, but I still, it's just, he's one of many arms and he's going in the 8th anyway. So I think you still like it there, even though he hasn't been like what he was with the Cubs since moving 8 miles south. But I think there's just so many. I mean, Garrett Crochet's coming out of that bullpen. Aaron Bummer, Michael Kopech has been good. They just have enough arms to run at you. That I like that, and the lineup is pretty strong top to bottom. And Luis Robert is a guy who I think has been overlooked because he was injured for so much of this year. But the dude has been hitting 350 since he's back, and he's playing a Gold Glove center. He's got power. Obviously, can fly around the bases. So I think that's a guy who sort of, if you're thinking back to like a Javi Baez 2016 playoff breakout, I think like Luis Robert would be one of my dark horse picks for like a guy who could just pop up and win the ALCS MVP.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I tell you what, though, White Sox, Astros, and Braves, Brewers have 1 o'clock start, first day of the playoffs written all over them.
yeah, absolutely. That is totally true. I think we got a 3:07 on Thursday and then a 1 o'clock on Friday for the White Sox.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes, those are your matinees for sure. So we both are picking White Sox over the Astros there.
I have a bad feeling the Astros are going to win that series. I would prefer for the White Sox to win, but I think the Astros are going to win.
Fair. I could absolutely see that happening. The Astros have pitchers a lot of pitchers you probably haven't heard a ton about, but who have been very good. Luis Garcia, Christian Javier. They've got Kendall Graveman now, one-time Cub.
Yep.
Zach Greinke, Jake Odorizzi, Lance McCullers has been really good. Jose Urquidy.
It's kind of cool to see like former random nondescript Cubs doing really well elsewhere. Like Casey Sadler was awesome for the Mariners.
Yeah, and I liked him with the Cubs too. I thought that was a weird one to give up on, and I'm not gonna. That's of all the Cubs moves, I'm not gonna sweat that one too much. But nice to see Sadler having a good run out there.
No, I'm gonna sweat it. I mean, this year's trade deadline was second only to not keeping Casey Sadler.
Not keeping Casey Sadler. Yeah, totally.
That's the one that I hold on to the most.
Oh yeah, and I mean, also just not paying minimal money to have Kendall Graveman, who ended up, if nothing else, getting the Mariners back in a trade, Abraham Toro and Diego Casilla. They got Toro. It was for Toro and they got Casilla otherwise in a separate deal. But yeah, I mean, these are all these moves matter. Also, Robel Garcia is our old friend. Robel Garcia was with the Astros this year. Got 100 at bats with them. So remember him.
Yeah, I mean, I like Robel was such a cool story. I mean, I feel like we kind of had a few of those this year between like Schwindel Wisdom and even Rafael Ortega. I mean, he really had a nice run there with the Cubs.
Yeah,
not quite Robel-esque, but
right.
Yeah, and then so would I be correct then if we're looking at the other half of the AL that you would pick? Would you pick the Yankees over the Rays, but the Rays over the Red Sox? Like, where do you land on that?
I would pick. I think I'm picking the Rays over both the Yankees and the Red Sox. I think is what in terms of what I'm picking to happen. I think the Rays advance. So I would have the Rays and White Sox, and I'd have the White Sox beating the Rays, honestly.
Right. Well, and then I guess as of now, the 4 final teams of last year are all in play. Like, I think a Rays Astros LCS is not unlikely whatsoever. I think a Braves Dodgers rematch is less likely given how those teams are matched up. Which we'll get to momentarily here, but give me I mean, I guess by the time people listen to this, it will have already happened. Give me a score prediction for tonight's AL wildcard game.
Score prediction. I'm going to say 7-6 Yankees.
Okay, I'm gonna go. That's about the like run total I was thinking. I'm gonna go. Let's have some fun, baby. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go. Let's go. 6-5 Red Sox on a walk-off two-run Schwarber dong.
Hey, I would be fine with that happening.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be cool. All right, let's go to National League then. National League wild card.
Well, let's start with what we, yeah. First of all, let me say that I am very happy for the San Francisco Giants that they did not get 2018 Cubs
Me too.
into a one game playoff followed by, because that would have sucked, period. I would have been,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have been most upset had the Giants and Dodgers, two teams who won 105 games, would have had to have played on Monday and then by default given the Cardinals more of an advantage in a one game wild card. Like that would have been infuriating to me.
I
So
agree. I
I'm
agree.
glad that the Giants took care of what they needed to, because when they lost a winnable game on Saturday and then they went into the final day Sunday with that being a potential, I was like, God damn it. So I'm glad that I feel like they have been the best team in baseball the whole year and rightfully deserve to have I mean, they now have home field throughout the whole playoffs.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great. San Fran's a really good atmosphere for playoff baseball. Obviously, they've had a lot of it over the last 12-ish years. Obviously
Yeah.
they had I will say this: we shit on the Cardinals for like being mediocre, and then like obviously they had maybe the worst World Series champion team of all time. They had, I think, an 83 win team, I want to say, that ended up winning the World Series. They have and they seem to have that kind of luck a lot. But we
Yeah.
got to shout out the Giants too for winning 3 World Series with teams that were fine, that were like fine to good, but just got hot at the right times. And weirdly,
They had Bumgarner. That's really what it came down to.
yeah, especially in the last one. Yeah, Bumgarner in that last one was obviously an all timer. But this year, yeah, it's like I have fond feelings for this team, even though they've won 3 World Series in the last 12 years, which normally I wouldn't, and but I just like how that team is made up. Obviously, they have Chris Bryant on the team. And I was listening to the Cubs related guys podcast, which is a very very good Cubs podcast, and they were talking about I think especially Brendan Miller was talking about how he did not want to see Chris Bryant like in a World Series for another team because it would hurt.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but I don't feel that way. What is your feeling?
I actually feel like of all of the teams that our respective former Cubs are on, I would most like to see the Giants go far. Like it should go without saying that I love John Lester, but don't want to see him pitching for the Cardinals in the playoffs.
Right.
And again, the Yankees and Red Sox just don't really do it for me. So yeah, I mean, I still want Chris Bryant to come back to the Cubs. Like I genuinely got emotional / angry standing in front of that mural by Wrigley.
Right.
But I think also as a baseball fan, like I just want to see the best team win because it's satisfying to me and it feels like justice has been served.
Same. And like best team and just like having the best season too. And
yeah, I mean, I think losing Brandon Belt is a big loss for them. I genuinely don't know why he was squaring around to bunt in the first place. Like, I don't know if Kapler put that on or why you would have your top home run hitter doing that.
Kapler annoys me. That's Kapler's the main San Francisco thing that annoys me.
Yeah, there are a number of managers I don't love in these playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. We talked about you.
Yeah, but there have been some weird injuries all over the place. Like Max Muncy, I don't know if they've said what his status is. Is he done like for the year?
I think so. I don't know that that's officially been said, but I don't think you're counting on Max Muncy anytime soon.
He got Derek Lead at first base. You remember that deep cut? It was that was in Los Angeles as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sucked and that derailed like Derek Lee, who was, I mean, people forget how good he was. Like he had an all-time great Cubs season right before that, and then it's just wrist injuries for hitters are just about the worst. Wrist and eyes really are like the things you don't want messed with above all else, and so that's really unfortunate for the Dodgers. Thankfully, from the Dodgers perspective, they're a very smart big market team that has spent a lot of money on players and developed players, so they got people to plug in, but you're not. You can't really replace Max Muncy, who was putting up like, I mean, he was in the conversation for first half of the season MVP in the National League. And yeah, that's a big loss.
Well, it says that He's very unlikely for the wild card game, but that means it says tests were unclear, which is like I don't really know what that means, but I guess there's a chance a chance that he could play in the playoffs. It also sucks that it appears that Kershaw is not going to be pitching for the Dodgers in the postseason as well. Here's a little trivia question for you. Do you remember who it was who ran into Lee to break his wrist?
Oh, good question.
It's going to be a name that as soon as you hear it, you're going to be like, that fucking guy.
Was it Alex Cora?
No, but it is kind of that sort of player.
Like it's like a slappy, annoying infielder, right?
Yes, initials RF. And it's not Roger Federer.
Yeah, yeah. Who was it?
Rafael Furcal.
Rafael Furcal, yes, from his Dodgers run. That's right.
I feel like I associate him more with the Braves. Is that right?
Yeah, he came up with the Braves, and then he had some Cardinals time, some Dodgers time, right? But yes, Braves, I think, was the biggest part there. Are we both saying in this National League wild card game, we're saying Dodgers over the Cardinals, or are we?
Well, again, I mean, like, I very much want the Dodgers to win. I would think that you do as well. First of all, I think it will be a real. I expected it would be Dodgers Padres in this scenario where like one of them would be in the wild card game. I think a lot of people did, but I would just be bummed as a fan of baseball to not get to see two 100 win teams play each other in essentially the first round. Like, I think we deserve a Dodgers Giants NLDS. So yeah, I think I'm going to say as much as I am afraid that the Cardinals are going to pull some bullshit, and also Wainwright has genuinely been amazing this year.
Yeah, he's been great.
I'm gonna go Dodgers in that game, and I'm gonna give you a score prediction. I'm gonna say it's not as close as the AL game. I'm gonna go 8-4 Los Angeles.
This is one of those games where I feel like the Dodgers blow it out early, or it's like 2-0 Cardinals win or something. Ugh. Like, this is like, I will say, if the Cardinals beat the Dodgers, that's not what I'm rooting for, but will I kind of have a good chuckle about it? Yeah, I think it would be funny for the Dodgers to have whatever it was, a 17-game lead on them, and this garbage wild card game that shouldn't even exist then ends up punting this team like well over 100 wins out of the playoffs before it begins. I would be fine with that. And again, not to just harp on quality of people when it's sports all the time, but the Dodgers were a team that chose to sign Trevor Bauer this year. You know, I mean, and they also have Julio Urias, who's a piece of shit. And but I think like this is an organization that has not been clean, and they've knowingly I feel like they haven't been busted for the same kind of cheating that the Astros have, but they've done a lot of things wrong in terms of like signing players in the international market. They've been penalized probably not enough for that. And then like signing Trevor Bauer when they knew who he was, and he's not in here, but I would be fine to see that organization go down in a cheap one-off game like this. That said, I do expect them to win. I'll say it's going to be 11-1 Dodgers. That's what I'm saying.
Ooh, I love it.
I'm going to say the Dodgers blow up. I feel like each one of the last few postseasons, we've had a game where it's like an exciting game going in, and then the first inning, it's over. Like the Dodgers.
Well, the one most notable was the Game 5 of the Cardinals Braves series where they scored 10 in the first inning.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the two I was thinking of, and then the Dodgers had one against the Braves like that last year too. But yeah, I think I think to your point, Dodgers, San Francisco in the first round is what we deserve to see, and I want San Francisco to win it in a decisive game there. But I have a bad feeling.
And man, what a good draw for the Brewers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because the Brewers are going up against Atlanta, who is better than people realize. I think this lineup is pretty deep, like in Atlanta. Like the RBI leader in the National League, I know it's not a cool stat, but it's something. The RBI leader, the RBI champion was Adam Duvall. This team also has our good friend Sonny George. We've got Jorge Soler over there, who's been hitting the ball great since getting traded. Ozzie Albies scored 100 runs. Freddie Freeman scored 100 scored 20 runs. And Freeman and Austin Riley had a huge breakout. Austin Riley hit 303 with 33 homers and 107 RBIs. Like the Braves have a scarier lineup than
Jorge Soler, baby.
Yes, Jorge Soler, exactly. And old Cub Jock Peterson is in the mix over here, and our second favorite Contreras catcher, William Contreras, is their backup catcher too. So there's some fun guys over there, but yeah, I think
I tell you what, when the Braves beat the Brewers in the first round, I'm going to be so excited that I'm going to punch a wall and break my hand.
You're going to throw an airbender right into the wall like Devin Williams? Yeah.
What was he doing? I don't understand it.
Respect that he just said what happened, I guess. He's like, I got drunk and I got mad and I hit a wall and I'm an idiot. Like
But it's weird to do that after winning a game.
I think it's like, this is, you win, you drink more than you normally do, and then something annoys you and you act dumb. I've certainly done it without the winning part. I've done the whole rest of that equation, and I get it. But yes, that one thing affects that Brewers team's chances so much because they
they can play 7-inning games with Williams and Hader. They can really shorten the game.
7-inning games with 3 aces in the starting rotation. I mean, it's a thing where they basically would only need 5 pitchers, like 2 in the bullpen and three to start, between Corbin Burns, who should probably win the Cy Young, and Brandon Woodruff and Peralta. I mean, this is the Brewers don't really have offense, but they are a scary team in these playoffs.
They are. And in Devin Williams' defense, who is, by the way, a player whom I very much like, despite being on the Brewers. Yeah. I have, as a completely dead sober person, punched a hole in a wall. And who's to blame for that? I'll tell you who. James Loney hitting a fucking grand slam off Ryan Dempster. That's
gross, man. Much respect for you doing a hole in the wall. Did you go with your pitching hand or your offhand?
I went with my pitching hand. So I'm right there with Devin Williams.
Right.
I went with the left hook.
Yeah, impressive left hook. Congrats.
And it was in my off-campus house in college, and the walls weren't great anyway. I'm not like super strong, but because it was a college house, so no one actually repaired anything. Rather than fix that hole in the wall, one of my roommates just printed out a photo of me drunk, and that drunk photo of me covered that hole in the wall.
I mean, that's pretty perfect. That is good, and it reminds you to not do that anymore. So that's effective, I think. And man, this time of year, as I read about how good the Braves are and how overlooked they are, it really bums me out that Ronald Acuna is injured. That he's not going to be.
Yeah, man, and credit to them for still winning the division without him.
Totally. And they have one of those pitchers the Cubs just didn't want to pay $1 for, even though they had him. Drew Smiley was pitched in 29 games for this team too. They got Jesse Chavez, Cubs legend Jesse Chavez.
Oh man, he was
team.
Really. I've kind of forgotten about him, but he was such a I think it's because of the season in which he pitched, and because that was 19, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer for sure. Also, I feel like a wild card for the Braves, who has just gotten healthy in the past month. Ian Anderson has looked really good, and I feel like having him back is going to be helpful for their chances.
I'm a big believer Ian Anderson and Chavez. I'm sorry, Chavez was 2018 with the Cubs.
Okay.
Yeah, but was great. Obviously, he was so good. But yes, I think Ian Anderson is a guy who, I'm a big believer in. He's been great. Max Fried is also has been huge for them, and Charlie Morton still going over there. So I think I'm picking the Braves over the Brewers, and that would be, I think, an upset. But that I'm saying the Braves are going to sneak up on people, and they're going to beat the Brewers.
I mean, I have a deep-seated fear that the Cardinals are going to 2007 Rockies their way into the NLCS against the Brewers, and I'm just going to hope for, I don't know, flooding. I don't know. But
that's my worst-case scenario, that matchup, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if we have like a LCS of like Yankees, Astros, and Cardinals, Brewers, I'm gonna burn everything to the ground.
Yes.
I can't do it.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna predict. I think the Brewers get through the first round. I hope that the Dodgers win tomorrow, which would set up Giants Dodgers, and I I want the Giants to win, but I think the Dodgers win, and then I think the Dodgers beat the Brewers to get back to the World Series. What do you got?
I'm basically with you on all that. I would be really rooting hard for the Giants against the Dodgers, but just the starting pitching the Dodgers are throwing out there above all the rest of it is just ridiculous. And I mean, Max Scherzer has been insane this year, and then they're following that with Walker Buehler, and that piece of trash Urias has won 20 games and has been really good. It's just
he won 20 games.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, and that's where you're three. Right. I just see I also would be rooting for the Giants, picking the Dodgers, and then Dodgers Braves in a rematch, and I would have the Dodgers beating the Braves, and it ending up being a Dodgers White Sox World Series is what I have. So you would have a Dodgers.
Well, I guess let's go through the AL. So I think I think Red Sox win tonight. I think they lose to the Rays. I think the Astros get through, so we have another rematch of Rays. I think I'm going for a rematch of the World Series.
You think it's a Dodgers Rays Part 2?
I do, but it also wouldn't surprise me if it's something that's even more annoying, like Dodgers Astros, and that's a rematch of its own. But that would be interesting as a fan to watch that.
It would be yes, that would be interesting, and that's like the only way I would root for the Dodgers, really, is in that scenario for them to actually get their win. But yeah, I think the worst case scenario for me is obviously like Astros Cardinals, maybe like Astros.
Yeah,
Cardinals.
I mean, but frankly, of the 10 teams, I think the only teams that I actively like are like the Rays and the Giants out of 10 teams.
Yeah, and I don't even like the Rays that much, honestly. Like they're sort of, I think they're obviously smart people run that team, but I have a problem when teams get like too much credit for not spending money. Like ever, like there's a version of fan online that like fetishizes that, and I don't know why, because it's not your money. And there was some dumbass tweet from from some reporter who's a Mets fan, but I forget exactly what his name was. But he's like, give me. He's talking about how Francisco Lindor is not worth it and too much money on him. He's like, give me the Rays style of winning any day. And I was like, what, you mean a team that's never won the World Series and that literally missed the playoffs from 2014 to 2018? Is that the style of winning? That's literally not winning. Like, they have not won it all. So I think that, so I'm just annoyed that the Rays kind of get fetishized with their penny pinching sort of hedge fund style of running a baseball team. But I mean, I will also default to teams that haven't won one, but I don't want to see the Brewers winning in by the even though they never have. Do
you think if you went back in time to Milwaukee like 50 years ago and told someone in Milwaukee that in the first round of the playoffs they would be facing off against the Braves, they would be confused for multiple reasons?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess it is like
rounds of playoffs, you say?
Yeah, if nothing else. And also two old Milwaukee. Drink up. Two old Milwaukee, current Milwaukee and an old Milwaukee with the Braves facing off in that round. So yeah, I think your World Series is Dodgers Rays. Mine is Dodgers White Sox, and I'm picking the White Sox to win it.
To win the World Series?
Yeah.
The White Sox?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, yes. I like that. That's a wild card. I was looking up my preseason pick, and my pick was a rematch of the '98 World Series, which was Yankees over Padres.
Okay, yeah, Padres just.
Which I don't. I mean, I don't think it was a bad pick. I don't think anybody saw. I mean, if you go back to like literally any experts' picks, I don't think that anyone had the Padres missing the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah.
But I also picked the Cubs and Nationals to win their division. So what do I
know? Sure. And between the Dodgers and Rays, who's your champ?
Let's go Rays. Maybe the Rays finally do it this year.
Hell yeah. I think that's a fine pick. And even though there's so many teams I don't want to be happy in this year's postseason, like it feels like almost all the teams besides the Marlins, every team I actively dislike is in the playoffs here, which is a bummer. But yeah, I mean, it will be a lot of compelling baseball to watch over the next few weeks for sure.
Right. And for us Cubs fans, it's going to be a lot of us like rooting for individual players. I feel
100%. Totally. Yeah. And out of all those guys, it's like, a Yankees Giants World Series, I would enjoy seeing Rizzo and Bryant meet like that. I would not feel distinct pain. I would hope the people running the Cubs would feel pain about it. I don't know that they could, that they have the possibility, that they have it within them as humans, but I would be happy for those individuals. So yeah.
Let me give you something very specific that I want to happen.
Sure.
I would love to see in this one game wild card, now 6 years later, for Kyle Schwarber to hit an absolute bomb off of Garrett Cole and have Cole just be like, God fucking damn it.
a 1,000,000%. That is what I'm rooting for on this Tuesday night. For sure, is just to go Schwarber, go 2.0 on Cole, which is one of the, I mean, that could be a whole other episode, but one of the most fun homers I've ever seen hit was
other than Schwarber also hitting it on top of the scoreboard against the Cardinals. I can't think of a more fun home run.
No, and both of those in that crazy 2015 Schwarber run. Yeah. But yeah, I think I think we did pretty good for a thorough playoff preview here.
I think so too. Well, folks, enjoy the playoffs. Even if the Cubs are not in it, they will be back next decade. I think they'll be back next decade.
In the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Manfred's going to keep expanding it. So at some point, every team is going to be in the playoffs. So I think that is a fair prediction for sure.
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get Portland a team, we're going to get Montreal a team, so we'll have 32, and then 28 of the 32 are going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and then we'll only rebuild every 5 or 6 years or something, so to miss the playoffs. But yeah, cool. Well, that's it, guys. We hope you enjoy watching the playoffs here. Give us your predictions. Let's see if anyone can get it completely right. Tweet at us at Away Games Pod. Tell us what we got right, what we got wrong, and give us your own playoff thoughts on the way through. Who are you rooting for? Also, tell us who would be the worst team to win in your because I feel like there's a good chance that happens too. But at Away Games Pod on Twitter, Instagram, everything. And we will be back soon with a Cubs season review.
Oh, what a thing to look forward to.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.